a lot of this, like being trapped in a like confined space with very little airflow and building your own like fetish gear. I know a lot of this can seem really intimidating to the uninitiated, but do you have any advice for an inspiring kinkster who is just sort of curious about some ways to use latex or to incorporate it directly into their sex life?
Like latex is one of those things that gets a little bit difficult because it is kind of a specialty product and requires like its own, techniques to use. But if people wanted to not, I always say don't buy an awful lot of stuff immediately. And
Mm.
I like separates. This is the thing that I will tell everybody for fashion, costumes, everything. And I will always preach separates. Like if you've got a skirt and a top, you've got so many different outfits. Whereas if you buy a dress, you've got one.
Mm.
So like investing in separates means that you can mix and match things and your collection only grows. Like if you've got all separates, next time you buy an outfit, you can mix and match those pieces again and you have like infinitely more. Like it's like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and you can get so much more bang for your buck that way. Like the desire to buy like that one super duper specific single use piece is there, but like if you've got little bits, you can get so much more creative. And like I know that Home Depot is often referred to as Dumb Depot because there's so much shit there that you can totally do weird shit with, and it's
You've got
great.
ropes. I mean, you got everything you
Right?
need.
Like
Oh,
there's so
yeah.
many things in just that people have around the house that they could use, like spatulas. You can go to town with a good spatula, and like I think, and finding just like really, I mean, most people historically, like I said, like fetish would come from everyday items. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know growing up, I used to really love raincoats, and then as I became an adult, I used to really love raincoats. And like you
You
can
know,
just,
you know.
if you've got something around the house that might work, like if you can be creative, this whole communities dedicated to it. It's called pervertibles. So it's like convertibles, but it's pervertibles. And if you Google that, you will find so many creative usages for shit you have at the house. Like you can, like, even if you're not terribly creative yourself at coming up with things, somebody has. Because there's a lot of people, especially in the time of COVID, who have been stuck at home looking at their house and their objects in it and being
And
like, well, what can I do with
yeah.
this? And it's
Can
been
I
a
put
great
that
time.
inside an orifice?
If it hasn't got a flared base, probably not. This is my friend who works at the ER and everyone else. If it doesn't have a flared base, don't do it.
That is a good piece of advice. Any other advice in terms of what people should be looking for before making a good purchase? Is there anything that we should know about the quality or the type or the nature of our latex, of our PVC? Any quick buyer's guides?
Um, I mean, PVC is easy to get hold of because like your local goth shop probably has it. Heck, there's even like I got a pair of really nice PVC leggings from Target one time, and I was sad when they finally died. They were one of my favorite pairs of pants. Um, so you can find stuff online. With latex, um, it's gotten bigger, and I know that like one of the companies, Radical Rubber, that I use, they are careful to remove like certain proteins to try and avoid allergies. I don't know if all manufacturers do that. So sometimes, like, if the price is too good to be true, there's probably a reason, maybe.
Mm.
Um, but I like it's something I've seen people have concerns about, but I haven't seen any stories where people have had actual bad outcomes. Um, it's kind of like anything like wish.com. The amount of times people like will show me this beautiful ball gown that they're going to get $50, and I'm like, yeah, that's not
Sure,
coming to you.
sure. Yeah, we'll see how that works out for you.
Gonna be a
And those
t-shirt. Yeah.
sites exist for latex now too. So if you see like a full cat suit for like $20, don't. I'm just I don't know what the catch is, but there's gonna be one, much like the Catherine Delish robe for like $20. That's not what you're getting. But I mean, like, there's a lot of people now making stuff on Etsy, like the small designers. selling stuff, and sometimes I'll look at it and I'm like, I don't know how you're charging these prices so low, and I think some people are maybe charging less than their labor is worth, but some people
Yeah.
are. But there are stuff out there, like, there's not a lot of secondhand, because I mean, it's sweaty. So it can be a little personal, and I don't know
Sex toys,
how.
generally, I mean, in this space,
Yeah.
you might want fresh.
But like, there's definitely different tiers. Like, some of them are very complicated and fancy and really expensive. But some of it's not. And if it's like a small thing, like you wanted like a lingerie set, that's a real easy place to start. One that I think is great, they're called mitts. They're like the little fingerless gloves that I love them. I make them for all my outfits. But they're not very expensive, and they're on the hand, so it's a really good way to like try out like the texture of it. And those are real cheap, and you can probably even get like latex shorts pretty cheap. So like that's one way. And I will always expound the virtues of PVC. Even the really fancy stuff is not that expensive compared to latex, because you can sew it. It's much more accessible for creating. And if you already home sew, go to Joann's. They have some great PVC there now. Or you can get it online. Like, and I say try PVC. People, like, some fetish balls are like, only latex, no PVC, and I think they're just being snotty for the sake of it. If I'm honest, like, I think it's a good place to start for some people. If the look is what you're interested in, and if you just want to like play with stuff at home, like, I don't know, maybe even TheraBands. I keep looking at my TheraBands after I break them from like my physiotherapy, and I'm like, could I glue you into something? The answer is I don't know yet, but I bet you could actually crochet or use it like a yarn. And now I think about it, like, if people are making weird like plastic bag yarn, you could definitely probably turn a TheraBand into yarn. Oh my God, now I want to knit a TheraBand sweater. That would be so cool.
So maybe people should keep an eye on some of your Etsy shops.
At the moment, I had some health issues, which has made it hard for me to be able to do latex, and I really want to make it again. So my Etsy is currently all Furbies, because I've not been able to do the latex work, which is really bumming me out. But
yeah, I mean, we've talked about this briefly on other shows, but I'll just say, if you are not familiar with OnlyFurbs, you owe it to yourself to just do a Google. There's
please.
there's some fascinating, amazing stuff to check out there. But outside of Etsy and Home Depot and your local like scrapyard, are there any particular places that you would recommend curious shoppers maybe check out?
I mean, a lot of like sex stores, like Forbidden Fruit, sometimes will have like latex selection. I remember one shop in Montreal that had a bunch of like polymorph wear, which was incredible. So sometimes like that's a place to start. And we are on the World Wide Web, so like online shopping is, a really accessible way. But if you want to try like something in person, I mean, you can try like the adult stores, because that's where a lot of people get them. There might, like, I'm gonna say that there might even be like a latex store near you, but I think I just grew up in a really good area for that. Like, one of the big companies, Cat House Clothing, I used to drive past on my way to swimming class as a child. Like, and maybe not everybody has these things in their neighborhood, like quite literally in their neighborhood. But like, yeah, like adult stores, even like fetish events will often have them. Like, I know that like some of the fetish balls around here have like the vac beds and stuff that sometimes people can try at like different kink events. And like kink events are usually a good place to just find out what's in the area. I know there's like a lot of people doing like the latex stuff on FetLife. That was a place where I got a guy to admit they were wrong to me, which has never happened on the internet.
On the internet?
On
FetLife?
internet.
Places? Jeez.
Yeah, that's like my greatest achievement in life. I was like, I wonder if I could use this thing, and like, this will never work. And then I made something with it, and they were like, I was wrong. And I was like, holy shit.
Oh,
I
I
got someone
love
to say they
that.
were wrong on the internet and it was a dude and I can't believe this happened. But
Just say you
yeah,
got it
there's a
recorded.
lot of people talking about stuff on there, a lot of like local groups, like kink groups and stuff. Austin is not a super latexy town, I had discovered, which surprised me because it's super everything else.
Fair.
But yeah, like if you're just curious, maybe just go to some events and meet people there. People love talking about their latex. I'll tell you, I do. And every time I go to anything, everybody else likes talking to me about it too. So like people will talk at length and probably know like if there's any good local places to get it, they'll know. And yeah.
I think
You
that
know,
that is
one
a piece of advice that we give all the time, but that is worth just really highlighting because it can seem so foreign. But
Right.
you should be in community with your sexuality. As a therapist, I guess I hate that word should, but let me sincerely recommend if you are in the most satisfying, wonderful, monogamous relationship of your life with zero interest in a new sexual partner, zero interest in exploring a new kink or getting into a new whatever, and you're incredibly vanilla and your sex life is totally wonderful and satisfied, I'm still going to kind of encourage you to be curious, to check out a munch, to find a meetup, to participate, even if it's with your close friends or with total strangers, that you're talking about sex with other people. I know that so much of our audience is going to roll their eyes at that advice, but I cannot stress just how valuable that is, not just for your sexuality, but for your relationship, uh, for your basic general well-being.
And I'll say
Yeah,
like
no, I wanna piggyback on that though, because like you have no idea how many people in your area are into a certain thing that you might be into or how big a community is until you go looking for it. So you might think
Mhm.
that you're the only one with a specific kink or hey, I live in a small town, latex is not a thing here.
it's a thing there.
Absolutely. You'll be surprised. Yeah, it's a thing. I promise you, it's a thing
But
in
I'll
a
also
town of
say
20
like
people.
I am not the most socially outgoing person. I will admit I have a lot of social anxiety. I'm autistic, which makes social stuff really really challenging. And if you know, even if that's you too, and going like just the idea of going out and talking to strangers, period, sounds horrible. There are a lot of communities online which are anonymous, where you can like talk to people without having to like put yourself in a situation that is maybe scary or uncomfortable. Like FetLife is one place that people connect a lot. Yeah, there's probably like Facebook groups. I don't know because like Facebook's real weird about stuff, but um, there's like a lot of online communities everywhere. Like I've got friends that I've made through like the fetish scene in like Germany. Our paths may never cross physically, but you know, these are people that I get to talk to about different things. So if you don't want to like put yourself out there, but you're still somewhat curious, like if you're watching this here today, like this is a great example of you're at home, I'm assuming, but and you know, I'm watching and you're not out and about, and you can find that for literally anything. Like Christy said, like uh, people are interested in it. And if you talk like the asexuality stuff, I thought I was the only person I knew who was asexual till I came out, and then everybody else who thought they were the only person was like, "Oh my god!" So, and I was like,
Mhm.
it's almost like the bold become the lightning rod for perhaps the more timid sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
I really like the way you put that.
there are like lightning rods online, and there are lightning rods in your community. You don't have to be one, but they're out there and usually pretty easy to find, and easy to find within your comfort zone.
I love that. And speaking of ways of connecting, so I know we're coming up to the end of the show, but I wanted to get your links out there. So I know we have a little picture up that has your links so that people out there, if they want to follow your stuff or see what we've got going on with you, that they can follow you. Oh, I guess we don't have a slide. So Miss
Oh,
O, can you tell us where we can find you?
yeah. Well, missokiss.com is like my website. And I have links to like my social media. I have my old latex account, which I have not updated in a while because I haven't been able to work in latex for a while, but it has a lot of my designs there. My Instagram's on there too, that has like all of my a lot of my like clothing and images and photography work that I do with latex, because that's something I love doing too. So missokiss.com. It's my name with .com at the end. So that is like the hub for everything. Oh, except for
Awesome.
OnlyFurbs. I need to put that up there.
So remember that, missokiss.com and then only Furbs. Yeah.